Wanderers Show.
Welcome along to the latest in Season 2. See, I've definitely stopped counting now.
Oh, no, stopped counting. It's number 8, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. Oh.
Do want to make a big thing of it.
Disappointed now.
It's been a big week, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
Memorable, I think so.
Indeed, yes. The visit of Charlton for the first so-called Wonder of Wycombe fixture.
Nice day for it.
I'm surprised they didn't get an Elvis impersonator to come on and sing the Wonder of Wycombe.
Oh no, don't suggest that. There'll be one there.
There will actually, yeah. So we had the daytime fireworks, which were quite interesting, and then fireworks on the pitch from Gareth McCleary, even though it was a bit nervous towards the end.
Yes, because you need a bit more than a goal, ideally, don't you?
Indeed, yes. Yeah, it was very, but it was okay.
But lifted us up the table.
It did, indeed.
So we'll be looking back at that. We'll hear from the goal scorer and the manager as well. Also this evening, something happened on Tuesday, didn't it?
It did, yes. Yeah, a lot of fans queued up to get tickets. No, we won't be looking at that bit of it. Eventually they did get into the stadium, and hopefully they did get in time to see Wycombe's goal, as we were one of the rare teams to take the lead at the Etihad Stadium.
Yeah, not many have done that.
No, exactly. Maybe we won't then mention what happened in the remaining 70... No, how many minutes was it? 65 minutes or so.
Oh, if only the game finished after 22 minutes.
Wouldn't that be great? That would have been really good.
FIFA passing a new law that says games will, from now on, or from the last game, be 22 minutes in duration.
We need Man City to rage quit, I understand it's called, on FIFA.
Oh, really?
You're looking at me as if you haven't got a clue what that is.
Ooh, rage quit?
Yes, rage quit. If you're an ex-boxer or
an ex-boxer? Just a former boxer.
Former boxer Frank Bruno.
Oh, I should read up on that.
There you go.
Rage quit.
What else have we got coming up this week?
It's an education, this programme, isn't it? Also, in our ex-player slot, we'll be chatting to a former captain and former central defender as well, Anton Vircavs, who you might remember from playing at Lokes Park in the 80s, or perhaps Adams Park in the early 90s.
And we will also be hearing from Wycombe Chairman Rob Couhig. He spoke to Phil Catchpole about the Derby situation. We will be finding out what he thinks about that. Many thanks to Phil, as always, who of course has his own wonderful podcast called Ringing the Blues, which is good to see is back this week. So. Yes, so do download that as well as listening to us.
So you mentioned download and rage quit. This is
I know.
High tech, isn't it, this show?
You're going to say something about Down with the Kids in a minute, aren't you?
No, because I sound really old then.
Oh, good. Okay.
So let's take you back, as they don't say, to Saturday, and a fantastic home game, as you say. It was quite highly promoted as well, wasn't it?
It was, yes, it was.
It was the
Wonder of Wycombe fixture, the first one, and we had fireworks before the game, which I think everyone wondered how that was going to work. But actually, it was quite impressive. If you were in what I always called old main stand, which I think is now called, is it the Sonus stand or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
Don't worry, you can cut it out.
Yeah, indeed. The side where the dugouts are.
That's it.
If you were over that side when the fireworks went off, it was quite warm.
Oh,
just a
should
little
have brought some marshmallows.
Definitely. They would have been slightly burnt, to be honest.
Oh.
So we had the exciting fireworks, which sadly our visitors from South London didn't think very much of, but I thought were very impressive.
They were only jealous.
Indeed, yes, they were. They didn't think much of that, and actually their afternoon got worse from there on. Mainly courtesy of Gareth McCleary, who once again was absolutely fantastic for the Chairboys. He's in fantastic form. Of course, he's already now scored 4 goals this season. And really, really good to see.
He's quite speedy, isn't he?
He is slightly terrifying. I would imagine if you are an opposing defender, because he does just have that pace that actually means that yes, he suddenly sort of goes up a couple of gears and just disappears from the defenders, and then is able to bend the ball very well, as he did for the first goal.
Absolutely. And you were there as well?
I was, yes.
Ask me how I know that.
How do you know that?
Because you spoke to Gareth after the game.
And the 90 minutes was totally ours, really, really well deserved, and I thought that we played some fantastic stuff going forward today. Really, really good. Been working hard on it. Richard Dobson puts his sessions on around the edge of the box. I'll get him to the edge of the box, and I'll make sure that we're doing our jobs defensively, and then some of the individual play around the box. You can't coach what Gareth McCleary did. He's just got that in the bag, and it was a fantastic start and much deserved goal as well. We could have had 3 or 4, I thought, in that first half. I wish we had. It wouldn't have been so nervy at the end, but it was a real full-blooded League One game, and Charlton Athletic under Nigel Adkins will not be where they are right now. In the end of the season, they'll be right up there, I'm sure, and we'll see what happens with Wycombe. But big focus now on MK Dons, with obviously the Man City game in between. I'll I'll be looking forward to going up there and being competitive and giving it all and trying to win that game. But again, I don't want to risk anything for MK Dons with injuries or whatnot. We've got to make sure that we are competitive in every single game. This can't be our cup tie this season. This is, excuse the pun, that can't be our big day. We've got 39 more big days, and I want to make sure that we take every one of them.
And I think the fact that it is MK Dons on next Saturday, you and I have spoken recently about Blackburn-Burnley. This is another one of those Wycombe derby games that I think all the fans really want to win.
Yeah, they're loving it, aren't they? The MK Dons fans will probably say we're not their derby as well, but unlucky, we're close now, and people are starting to respect us. People will probably want us as their rivals soon because we're a good side. But everyone just looks at us as this long ball team and this set player team, but keep billing us as that because you underestimate these boys because they're a fantastic bunch. They work so hard, and I'm real proud to be the manager.
It's that underdog tag, isn't it? You hear him talk and you think they really relish that.
Definitely, they do, and I think they feel a bit strange when actually it doesn't apply, as it's not going to apply to certain games this season.
No, of course.
But certainly, yes, it did. Maybe not so much on Saturday, because obviously Charlton are struggling a lot, and they really didn't let their feelings about Paul Nigel Adkins known at the end. Most Wycombe fans won't have seen that because I was then obviously hanging about at the end to speak to Gareth. But Paul Nigel Adkins came out rather quickly to do his press engagements while still some of the Charlton fans were leaving. And yes, it was a little bit feisty, shall we say, and the stewards had to make sure that they were in the way. Yes, between Nigel and the Charlton fans.
Bit of venting.
They weren't very happy.
Oh.
But then, of course, we move on to Tuesday, where we were very much the underdogs.
Yes. But first...
yes, sorry. No, we've got a bit of other Gareth, haven't we?
Yes.
Gareth with an A.
Yes, absolutely.
Not Gareth with an E.
He was speaking after the game as well.
Matt, another 2 goals at Adams Park.
Yep.
Seems to be a regular occurrence now, isn't it?
Yeah, it was good to score just before half time, but it was a great shift by all the boys. I know obviously I scored the goals, but it's a credit to everyone from defence, goalkeeper, midfield and attack, and players that didn't play as well. We push it every day in training. And yeah, we're just thankful we got to win.
I mean, obviously another solid performance from the team, but there was a little scare at the end, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, it was a little scare. But as we've seen many a times, Stocko saved us on a couple of occasions and some last-ditch defending, which we work on quite a bit. So yeah, we know it's going to happen in games, but we need to take the rough with the smooth.
And it takes you up to 4 goals for the season. You must be feeling in amazing form right now.
Yeah, feeling good form. But as long as we're playing well and winning games, that's the main thing. It's not really a personal thing for me. All I want to do is win games and get as high up the table as possible.
4 goals, though, is good, isn't it, so far?
It is very impressive. I think we have found one of the players to replace Uch.
Yes.
And also obviously Bayo, who isn't playing as much as he was.
No, definitely. Now we move on to Tuesday.
Sorry, yes, now we can move on to Tuesday. And yes, our little trip to the Etihad Stadium, which I think it's fair to say, went better than any of us could have expected.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, I know the final score was 6-1. I thought our friends at the Bucks Free were a little bit harsh putting the word thrashing in there. Yeah, I know 6-1 is a thrashing, but it didn't, if you were there, it didn't feel like that at all. It felt like a small victory, the fact that actually we managed to take the lead, and did actually play some quite good stuff for a while. Of course, eventually Man City's talent showed, but that's what you expect against a team like Manchester City.
And seeing the images afterwards, what it meant to, obviously, the group of players who were sort of celebrating the goal, and also for Brandon, obviously, getting his first, and where he got it as well, at that ground.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll always be able to say that now. The fact that Bayo went off to a standing ovation from all 4 sides of the ground, it was, what was not to like about it? Yes, okay, the result wasn't great. Nobody likes to have 6 put past them, but actually, to see Wycombe play against what is one of the best teams in the world and actually take the lead was just brilliant.
And to be on your, I think we could call it farewell tour, as he is, to be described by Pep.
Last Dance.
Exactly,
That's the Last Dance.
Legendary striker in the English game was quite something as well.
Yeah, really was. And lovely to see. I mean, the people in front of me were speculating on how long Bale would play for, and were saying, he'll probably come off after half an hour. The fact that he played a full hour at the Etihad was very impressive.
And before and after the game, he was getting selfies with both sets of fans as well, which again, not many players would do that.
Indeed, that was absolutely lovely to see. And yes, okay, they might have got some superstars in their team, but we've got some superstars in ours as well.
As Gareth mentioned in his post-match press conference in the plush surroundings of the Etihad Stadium.
Wow, with their front five, and I'm not disrespecting their back five, they were awesome as well. They had a brilliant team out tonight. Some of the future players here are going to be superstars, but the superstars on show really made the difference, and we learned a lot tonight. But we had that moment. We had that moment on 22 minutes. Brandon Hanlon's first goal for the club in front of the Wycombe fans away at the Etihad. It is fairy tale stuff for him, and I think we led for about 5 minutes. I'll take the positive there, but we definitely were up against it for the rest of the game. And good luck to Man City. They're a fantastic outfit with a brilliant manager in charge, and I'm hoping that at the end of the season we're saying we got beat by the winners.
And Gareth, lastly from me, did you exchange words with Pep at full time, and what did he say to you?
He complimented me and said he'd love to share a glass of wine with me, and I will definitely be taking that offer up and hopefully learning a little bit more, a bit less severe than my players tonight though. So we'll hopefully share a nice drink, and like I say, I can only wish Manchester City all the best in the future.
Thanks, Jim. James.
Hi, Gareth.
How you doing?
Not bad, thank you. Commiserations for tonight, but just a quick word on your team's performance today. They did hold their own for the vast majority of it, and Brandon Hanlon, what a moment to get his first goal for the club in front of the away supporters. What were your overall views on tonight's match?
Yeah, I think vast majority has been very kind to us. I think we maybe held our own for half an hour, and then the other 60 minutes definitely belonged to Man City. You give the ball away sometimes and you don't see it again for 3 or 4 minutes, and usually it's a shot on your goal when you see it again. So it's a real tough place to come. But Brandon scores his first goal in unbelievable circumstances. We sign him from Bristol Rovers. We pay money for Brandon, and I can't thank Rob and Pete and Missy Couhig enough for that, the backing that they've given me to bring players like Brandon in, and I'm hoping that we will repay them with performances like we had Saturday against Charlton. And the first 20 minutes, I thought we were well worth some respect, but it's a tough place to come. I spoke to Sam Vokes after the game, and he came here with Burnley many times and said it's not much different when you come with a Premier League side. The Man City boys, they run the show, and it was brilliant performance by City.
And Pep in his press conference was very complimentary of Wycombe. He described that Bale was a legend. He was very complimentary of yourself. How does that make you feel, Gareth?
Yeah, I try and do things the right way, and we try and do the things the right way at Wycombe Wanderers. And for somebody of that stature to compliment us on that means it's all worthwhile. I've got so much respect for Pep Guardiola. I think he's a fantastic person, football aside. Can't wait to have a glass of wine with him in a minute.
And finally, for me, you said that the bread and butter is the league this season. How much are you looking forward to going into the MK game known as the Bucks Derby?
Yeah, the Bucks Derby will be a big one. My boys have actually had another workout tonight, which is a positive for me. So if the MK Dons players have been sat with their feet up, then hopefully we can be one step ahead of them for Saturday. But it will be a tough ask. They're fourth in the league. They're flying at the moment, and it's always a feisty occasion. But can't wait to see where the boys are Thursday to make sure we have a strong outfit at the MK Dons Stadium on Saturday.
And Robert.
Hi guys. Just a quick comment of travelling fans. How good were they tonight?
They were immense, I just want to say thank you, and hopefully that moment on 22 minutes repays long drive, the ticket prices, and the pandemic where they've been stuck in their houses for a year and not been able to come to watch us in the Championship. We're trying to give them these little moments that will pay them back for all their support, because I wouldn't be here without them, and neither would the players. So yeah, thank you so much for your support tonight. You saw a lot of goals, unfortunately not all for Wycombe, but at least you got one, and it was a splendid moment.
Really did put the club and the town and obviously certain players and Gareth as well on the map, if you like.
It definitely did. I'm interested to hear what Gareth was then saying about Pep and all the respect, and I'm not dissing Pep in any way, shape or form here, but it did make me slightly wonder what would happen if if they switched roles. If there was a Channel 4 documentary, job swap, and, and
like
Pep,
wife swap.
Yeah, exactly. Pep came to us for a season and Gareth went to Man City.
Oh, yes.
Because I think Gareth would do just as good a job, really. He's a phenomenal manager. Whereas I'm not saying that managing all of those multi-million-pound players is easy. I'm sure it's not at all. But it is that sort of thing of, and maybe this is the football manager type sort of like part of me speaking here, but you do feel, well, Colin, you or I could probably pick a Man City team that would actually win.
It wouldn't be too hard.
That's what you think. But, I'm sure there's a lot more, obviously, that goes into Pep's job.
Yes, he makes it look very easy, doesn't it?
Somebody like Gareth Ainsworth, who's managed to get Wycombe out of League One when they really, really weren't expected to do it and have one of the lowest budgets, I do think, well, I wonder who the better manager is, really.
As you mentioned earlier, Adebayo Akinfenwa started on Tuesday. He was captain as well.
He was, yes.
Came off to a rousing reception. These were his thoughts after the game, chatting to Matt.
We started off wicked. I guess they showed their quality, but we showed our togetherness. We came here, a bit disappointed that we just kind of ran out of legs at the end. But it's an experience against one of the best teams in the world. They'll know they played us, even though we let in 6. But now it's about MK Dons. Let's go.
All 4 sides of the stadium on a big applause.
Yeah, no,
it's special.
That's humbling. It's so humbling. It was humbling, man. I swear down. That's why I love Wycombe. I do. I love this place, and these memories it will stay with me for a lifetime. So humbling as hell. Just flipping. I just don't like 6. I don't think it was 6.
You didn't think we should have lost by quite so many.
He becomes the second player after Scott Cashgett to slightly swear on the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
I'm really pleasing for Brandon as well. Brandon Hanlon, of course, a summer signing from Bristol Rovers, 3-year deal.
That must just be amazing as well, to score your first Wycombe Wanderers goal at the Etihad Stadium, to take the lead. And the wonderful thing was as well, it was facing the Wycombe fans because they swapped round before kick-off, which I think we all slightly booed at and thought, oh, that's a bit miserable. But actually it did mean that we got to see our goal down our end.
He spoke to Matt after the game as well.
When I've come and then scored, I didn't really realise it was real, but it's happened and I was buzzing with it, to be fair. Not much chances you'll get to score a goal at Etihad, to be fair.
And the celebrations as well was at the right end, wasn't it, with the Wycombe fans? I think you changed direction to make sure you went that way, and that'll be something you remember as well, making that impact in front of those fans.
Yeah, definitely. I think when I've scored, I ran that way. I realised that all the fans were on the left side. So obviously I'm going to go and celebrate with them because they were unreal tonight as well.
Probably wasn't the best goal of the game. City can play a bit, can't they?
Oh yeah, they've got world-class players up there, do you know what I mean? And it was an experience, you know what I'm saying? I was just on the pitch sometimes just admiring what was going on, but it was definitely a great experience to be part of.
I guess by the time tomorrow comes out on Thursday, this will be a bit of a distant blur because all focus is on the league this season, getting back into the Championship, and what better place to get back into winning ways, continuing where we left off against Charlton, but going to MK on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously in League One you're not going to come off against a side as good as this, so it was definitely a good challenge, but the focus is on Saturday and I'm sure all the boys are ready to go again.
And just how you found it settling into life here at Wycombe. You've been here 3-4 weeks now, and you've made your mark, you've got your goal. How pleased are you with how you've been settling in?
Yeah, I've been happy here from the first day. All the boys have been welcoming and I've been getting on with it, to be fair. The gaffer's been good to me too. So it's just about kind of just getting used to it and getting used to it on the pitch and then start firing.
It's fantastic to imagine as well what the players must have learned from coming up against such top opposition.
Indeed, yes, and particularly given who we're playing on Saturday, you do hope so, and you do hope that I'm sure we will take that heart and that belief into the game against our franchise friends up north. But yeah, definitely an interesting. Why did you find that quite so?
I just like it's a nice way to refer to them.
Indeed. Well, I wasn't going to say anything else.
All right.
Or possibly even refer to them by name, although that's the mistake that AFC Wimbledon made, and then they got terribly fined for it, didn't they? So no, okay, maybe we should refer to them by name. Anyway, yes, I think a good training match before we play our friends from franchise.
That sounds American, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Well,
that's why we all got fed up, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because it is the American model, with all due respect to the Couhig family.
And American models.
That strange way that you can have the Oakland Raiders suddenly becoming the Las Vegas Raiders. That's what happened with MK. And, they shouldn't even be called the second bit, because that belongs to another team.
Absolutely. Anyway, also, it'd be nice to sort of get your sort of feelings, if you like, coming away from the game as well, because as a fan as well, and going to the Etihad and seeing, literally the Premier League champions take on a team that were in the Championship last season and are really going places.
It was great. It was really, really good. At the same time, I think you have to remember we were in the Championship last season. Clearly, obviously, the fans weren't allowed in. I was quite lucky in that I did get to go to some of the decent grounds. We probably didn't go to anywhere that was nearly as decent as as the Etihad. It's better than the Stadium of Light. But it was just great. It was great to see. And as I said a short time ago, you have to then sort of like almost pinch yourself and remember that we're playing one of the best teams in the world. The way that Manchester City is assembled now, it would be like having millions and millions and billions of pounds on a game like Football Manager and just basically being able to buy all the players you want. Well, that's Manchester City.
That's what they've done.
And we lost 6-1 in the end, but we did go 1-0 up, and we survived for a quarter of the game without them actually scoring.
Still to come on this week's The Wycombe Wanderers Show. I don't think we mentioned the enough, do we? I don't
even know. We're like the Beatles. You have to say The Wycombe Wanderers Show at the beginning.
We'll be hearing from Anton Vircavs talking Wycombe Wanderers from the 80s and 90s here at Wycombe Sound.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Second part of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. This week, of course, reports that the club are considering legal action against the relegation with Derby going into administration.
Yes. I hope we do.
That could add some extra drama, couldn't it?
Indeed, absolutely. And aren't we all very grateful now that it was actually a lawyer who took us over?
Absolutely, that's coming handy.
Could have been some guy who sold fried chicken or something. No, we got a lawyer. That's just what you need.
We'll be hearing from Rob Couhig speaking on the Ringing the Blues podcast later on in the show as well. But first, with much gratitude to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, we've been catching up with a former captain in Anton Vircavs, who was at Lokes Park in the early 80s and again in the early 90s, as you'll hear. But this is how he started at, Lokes Park.
I actually was playing football for Press Steel in Oxford in the old elite league, and John Maskell used to stand behind the goal and watch me on a Saturday and a Sunday morning, and I didn't know it was John Maskell, and then he asked me if I wanted to come over for training sessions. John Maskell used to play in goal, obviously, for Wycombe, was reserve team manager. So my first training session at Lokes Park was on January the 10th, 1980, which for some reason I just remember that date.
So what were your first impressions when you arrived?
Wycombe was quite a prestigious club at that point. Had a good, in non-league football, it had quite a history, and so, it was a big step for me, and I really, really was looking forward to it, and I've fitted in quite well, and I was quite keen, so it went well, yeah. But first training sessions were good and completely different, and the first team weren't playing so well at that time, and I played in reserves and played quite well until the end of the season. And the following season, which would be sort of 81, the beginning of the season, I was in the first team, so it was quite a good progress.
So obviously Lokes Park is quite well known for its sloping pitch. That must have been something which took quite a bit of adapting to.
Yeah, well, it was. I remember we played Colchester in the FA Cup one year, and we beat them 1-0. And I had to go onto the radio and do a little, because I was captain. I'd go on the radio and do a little interview. And I remember saying then that the pitch actually sloped 11 foot from linesman to linesman, and they said, was there an advantage? And I remember at the time saying that there wasn't an advantage. The only advantage was that all the teams the away team used to try and play on the top side of the pitch because it was easier for crossing, and I think it hindered the away team more than us. Yeah, but no, there was no. Yeah, it was great, and it was an old-fashioned ground as well. It's had wooden terraces and things, so it was a lovely place to play football when you look back on it.
Fantastic as well. That even in those days, the level of support as well.
It was a good level of support, and like I say, Wycombe were quite a prominent team in those days. But yeah, I forget what the crowds were now. I think it was 1,000, 1,500. But actually, I looked it up on Wikipedia, Wycombe Wanderers, and the years between that I played there, I played 1988 one, but in Wikipedia, it actually caused those years between 74 and 84 as the loss of purpose. It comes under the heading for that period of time. And I do remember what the club was doing was sort of trying to hang on to the amateur days and not spend any money. There wasn't a lot of money around. So the crowds did decline in that period of time. Although the team was quite successful. We won in 1983. We won the Isthmian League. We got to the semi-final of the trophy, which was the first time the club had done that. And it was sort of a time of change at the club because they'd rejected going into the old Alliance, which is what the National League now, a couple of times, and then joined the Alliance in 85 while I was there, and that was our first season in what would be the Gola League at that time. And unfortunately, the club didn't really favour going into that because they didn't want to pay travelling costs and extra expenses that it would cause. So 85 we ended up playing in the Alliance, but we weren't very successful and we got relegated straight away.
Did it feel like that as players at the time? Did you sort of in the dressing room think this will probably be known as the loss of purpose years later on?
No, the only thing was that the club were sort of notorious for not paying high wages and attractive, which ultimately attracts better players. There was a reluctance to spend the money, and the main reason for not going into the Alliance League at that time was travelling expenses. And I remember we played at Kidderminster on a Wednesday night, and we got beat 8-1, but we were short of first-team players because the club wouldn't pay the extra expense for people taking time off work. And so by the end of the season, we were relegated, which was a shame. And after that, the club actually realised they need to get back into that the Alliance, or the Gola League as it was then. And so they actually changed and started to spend more money. But unfortunately for me, I liked playing in that higher level, and I had the opportunity to go to Cheltenham Town. And so at the end of that season, when we got relegated, Cheltenham Town bought me, and I ended up going and playing for sort of 4 or 5 seasons in the conference, or the National League as it now, for them, which was why I left the club, actually, because to sort of play better standard of football at that time. It was a simple decision to make because you want to play the best football you can play, and unfortunately Wycombe were going to be going into a lower league, and I was going to get more money playing for Cheltenham Town. I doubled my money going to play for Cheltenham Town. Wycombe's 35 miles east of where I lived, and Cheltenham Town was 45 miles west of where I live, so I was in between the two. So strategically, it was a good move for me to go to Cheltenham Town, and not playing for more money, but it does help. And I was bought by Cheltenham Town for £5,000 at the time, which was quite... and that was the most Cheltenham Town had ever played for a player. So
wow, your club record signing.
I was a club record signing at the time, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Are there any particular games that especially stand out, especially, I guess, in the title-winning side of 83?
For Wycombe Wanderers?
Yeah.
Yeah, in 83. No, nothing really stands out other than the last game when we actually won the league. That was a great feeling, and probably winning that league was a highlight. The highlight would probably get into the semi-final of the trophy in '83 as well, and that was a great run, and there was a real optimism of getting to the final, and we went to Altrincham and drew 1-1. And McGarry Lester making a great save to keep us in it, but unfortunately the replay at Lokes Park, I think we froze us a little bit. The older players froze a little bit, and we didn't play the football we could play. But at the time, Altrincham had something like 8 non-league internationals playing in their squad, so it was quite a challenge to get out there, and they probably played the better football on the second leg, and unfortunately we missed out on Wembley, which had been a great occasion, and that was the furthest Wycombe had ever got in the trophy at the time in their history.
No, it's fantastic, and you speak to so many ex-players as well, and something that really stands out is the camaraderie among the teammates, and I guess you had a pretty special group around the time you were there as well.
Yeah, we did. When I first joined, there was a lot of senior players, and I think a lot of them came from Loughborough or had connections with Loughborough. There was a connection with Brian Lee and Loughborough, so yeah, they were a lot more. They were people to look up to and respect, and it was great. And as they left, it got older. The more younger players came along, but it was always great fun to play for Wycombe, and you look back at it with fond memories. We had some really good managers. Mick Keane was manager, Paul Bent. Well, they were actually only 2 managers I played under for Wycombe. But yeah, it was good. But there was always a little bit of reluctance to paying the money, and I think Mike King didn't get the support he deserved a little bit sometimes. But yeah, it was very much a money thing at that stage, because there was a lot of money and players were getting a lot more money playing elsewhere.
Because I guess it's hard to imagine, especially where the club is now, that obviously at the time you were all obviously part-time and obviously had other jobs too.
Well, that's right. That's what I always think about my football, is that my work, I was running my own business, and my work suffered through football, and football suffered through my work. So yeah, being part-time in those stages, it was hard to do, but I don't ever remember complaining about it. It was okay to travel up to Manchester, Altrincham on a Wednesday night, or Barrow or somewhere like that, and get back about 2 or 3 in the morning and go to work the next day, and then back in on a Tuesday, back in on a Thursday for training. Yeah, I've always travelled, which was always a bit of a hindrance. I would have loved to have lived in Wycombe and still be connected in a closer way.
And you must have a lot of memories as well, as you say, about the sort of off-pitch, kind of behind-the-scenes sort of relationships with your teammates and things like that.
Yeah, there was definitely a drinking culture in them days, and I always remember probably the highlights of my Wycombe career was that we always used to go on tour at the end of the season, and I've often said that they were the best times of my life, going on those tours. It was great fun, 20 blokes all the way together. Used to cost us £50, and I remember players saying, "Oh, I can't afford to go for £50." I said, "You can't afford not to go for £50." And we were looked after, and we used to have some great times, and some really good memories from there.
And it must be especially enjoyable for you as well, being a central defender as well, because I think, down the years and also more recently as well, Wycombe have had some great central defenders who've really sort of stood out and enjoyed that role.
Yeah, I guess centre half. Then there's always that your centre half, your centre midfield, and your centre forward. build around those players, and if you've got some good players in them positions, you're going to go be successful. So yeah, I mean, it's not for me to say how I played or how good I was, but I do think that I always remember that Phil Edmonds, the left arm spinner for England, the cricketer. He said, "The older I get, the better I was," and I don't want to fall into that trap.
No, definitely, and it must be such a great sense of pride as well to be one of Wycombe's captains.
Yeah, I can remember captaining Wycombe at 21 years old, and I've often wondered, was that the youngest anyone's ever captained Wycombe Wanderers? So yeah, no, to be a captain, I always had something to say and had a big mouth. So yeah, that was the sort of player I was. I was more regarded as a blood and guts, I think, than a cultured centre half.
And how do you overall look back on your time at the club?
Oh, fond memories. Well, I was lucky. It was always when I was there hanging over that there was always going to be a new pitch and a new ground. And of course, I went and played for Cheltenham, and I had 5 seasons there. And in 92-93, when Wycombe lost out on promotion to the Football League, they came level on points with Colchester, 94 points each, and Wycombe didn't get promoted because of goal difference. So I remember that season, because at the end of that season, when Wycombe didn't go up, they came to Cheltenham Town on a Wednesday night with 2 games left of the season, needing to win. And of course, you want to be missed when you play against your old side. And Cheltenham actually won. I scored a goal in the last 10 minutes to beat them 1-0, and actually kept Wycombe in non-league. And the interesting thing about that was that because of that goal, Martin O'Neill kind of noticed me, and when Glyn Creasy got injured in the 92-93 season, in that February time, Martin O'Neill actually brought me back to Wycombe Wanderers, and so a bit unexpected because I was 31, 32 years old then, and I helped in the last 10, 15 games to get actually promoted into the Football League.
That must have been fantastic as well, to have another sort of spell back at the club and to play such a key role like that.
Yeah, because I was actually bought back for £10,000, which was quite nice as well. And my claim to fame on that, as a friend rang me and said, "Oh, I can buy you on FIFA 94 for £10,000. So that's my little claim to fame. But it was fantastic to play at the new ground with what was a great team in those days. It was a far better team then, and they had some great players, and obviously won promotion to the Football League. And it was great to play a little cameo role. And my 10 or 15 games coming back, I remember the first game back was against Slough, and there was about 7,000 or 8,000 people in the crowd. It was actually full, and that was on a Wednesday night, my first game back, and I hadn't even been introduced to the players. So I just walked in the changing rooms and put the shirt on, and we won. I think we won 1-0, and Andy Kerr got sent off. So we won 1-0 with 10 men. So I felt like I did a good job. No, definitely, that must have been fantastic, and I guess fans would be interested to know what sort of happened to you after your time at Wycombe. The reason I left Wycombe, Martin O'Neill was very good to me and offered me a contract when they were in the Football League, which would have been lovely to have had a chance to play in the Football League. But we had a meeting, and he offered me the contract, and I knew I was 32. I knew I was not going to be prominent in the first team. I would be making up numbers, and I didn't really want to be hanging around. So I said to Martin, "Really, you should be telling me to get lost." To which he replied, "Yeah, get lost." I said, "Thanks very much for all you've done for me." So it was great to come back and just have that last little fling and be part of the team that got promoted to the Football League. But it was time for me to leave, so I went and played locally for Whitney, and just for a year. But as you get older, the legs go, and it becomes harder and harder and more disappointing knowing that you've played better standard of football and at a better level. And I think all my biggest motivation was fear of letting people down. rather than anything else. And I think as you get older, it doesn't become a very nice thing to be playing football when you know you've done better things.
And you're still keeping busy these days?
Yeah, I'm still busy. I still run a heating business. I play a bit of golf. And the great thing is about Wycombe now is the Ex-Players Association. And which has been a thing to keep all the ex-players together, and that's been a fantastic sort of thing to be going back to Wycombe regularly. And I'd like, if I can, a special thanks, especially to John Taylor and Alan Hutchinson, who enable us to relive the best times of our lives as footballers. It's a wonderful thing that they do, and I'm sure every ex-player is grateful. They're to me, have kept us all young. It's a great thing to relive the best times of your life. And I'd like to say thanks very much to John and Alan and the rest of the committee for enabling us to do that. And John and Alan especially are really the Wycombe Wanderers heroes.
Oh, they're really nice words. And as you say, it must be so nice to be able to reflect on the great times that you had at the club.
Yeah, no, that like I say, that's the wonderful thing. It's, it is, when you look back in time, they were, when you say about playing for Wycombe Wanderers, they were the best times of your life, because you're young, you're fit, and you're running around, and you're never going to be able to do that again. You meet people, you meet friends, and the great thing about the ex-players is you can meet up with people that you haven't seen for 30 years, and you've all got a common bond. And people talk about stories about when you went on tour and when you played there and when you did this and you did that, and you've completely forgotten them. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to do. So I'm really grateful to John and Ray and the rest of the committee of keeping us all involved in the club. And we also get the prestige of what the club are doing at the moment. It's a fantastic way Gareth Ainsworth run the club and how he's run the team, and enable us all to live in the prestige of being Wycombe Wanderers fans. I've always thought that it doesn't matter whether you've played 1 game, 10 games or 100 games for Wycombe Wanderers. If you put on that shirt, you were the best of 11 players that Wycombe Wanderers could find at that moment in time. And I think if we've all played a part, everybody that's put that shirt on has played a part throughout history. And it's great to be part of that.
Really nice words from Anton, and fantastic to hear his stories as well.
It was really, really nice, yeah. And big thanks to Ray as well for arranging it.
Final part of the Wycombe Wanderers show on the way next, here at Wycombe Sound.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound. Thursday evenings on Wycombe Sound.
Welcome to what we term the final part of the Wycombe Wanderers show, literally, because there's nothing after this.
There isn't, that's true.
That's it. This is the best, well, not the best bit. We've had the best bit, I think, already, haven't we?
It's you and I trying to fit into a tiny library.
Can you imagine us trying to fit into a tiny library?
There's some breaking Wycombe Wanderers news in the last few minutes.
Oh, do share it with us.
Indeed. Wycombe Wanderers medical team apparently came to the rescue after a car was involved in a collision on the M40 in the early hours of Wednesday. As the team was returning from the Manchester City game, they stopped to help. So club doctor Bob Sanger, head of medical Kieran O'Doherty, or is it Doherty? I'm never quite sure. And the assistant physio as well, Ali, were on board, and they were 100 metres behind the accident when it happened. They rushed to the scene, apparently, tending to the victims before the emergency services arrived. You can tell I'm reading this off.
I was going to say, where have you got this news from?
Indeed. And even as Chairboys supporter Tina Davis was also travelling in the area, pulled over to help direct traffic safely from away from the scene of the incident. A club spokesman says that everyone at Wycombe Wanderers commends the swift actions of the medical team and wishes those involved a speedy recovery.
Well done, medical team.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
I think of them coming back from Manchester City, and they're all a bit tired and whatever, and they see something like that and they spring into action.
Hopefully on a future edition of the show we'll get to speak to one of the medical team.
That would be nice. Yes, we would like to. We do want to extend our bit of speaking to the people in the back rooms.
Yes, we've had Will the chef on, haven't we?
Indeed, yes.
Who else? Mr.
Neil Peters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also the Wanderers World Wonder Phenomenon.
Oh, yes, they were Wycombe Wanderers Worldwide Phenomenon.
Harry Gadd. Just remembered his name. We'll speak to anyone.
We will.
Also...
the Wycombe Wanderers
at the club. We'll speak to anyone. At the club.
However tenuous your link to the Chairboys is, we'll speak to you.
If you're in the car park and happen to see Bob, you might well be on a future show.
If you happen to be involved in that accident, and we wish you all the very best. If you want to be on next week's show, then get in touch with Colin and I. Yeah.
twws@wycombsound.org.uk.
That is a proper email address.
Yeah, get in touch with us. Also, we're very pleased to be able to showcase, if that's the right word, content from Ringing the Blues, a fantastic podcast.
We are very pleased that Ringing the Blues is back as well, because obviously Phil has had a bit of a break. It's lovely that he is now back doing Ringing the Blues again. And one of the highlights is a very interesting interview with Chairman and owner Rob Couhig, of course, who has been in the news this week with the developments at Derby, shall we call them? Indeed, yes. This was taken after the Charlton Athletic game, when I believe that Phil starts by asking Rob just what he made of the Derby situation.
Well, it's ridiculous. Everybody who understands anything about the business of football knows that they have been unable to pay their bills. They've been supported by Mel, and at some point he was going to get tired of it, and that's what's happened. But when you're looking at it, and remember, this was evident, they had the right to borrow money that the league had set up. The league wouldn't lend them the money because they wouldn't meet the financial criteria. At that point, the league should have stepped up and said, "You're done. You can't meet our financial test." Now, that's me, because I've got members of the trust calling me now saying, "When are we going to sue? When are we going to do this? When are we going to do that?" The other side of the coin is it's not set up very well as a league to really supervise people. I saw one of y'all's heroes, Gary Neville, was talking about, we need a government supervisor of this. What we need is for the league to take care of itself and to promptly punish people who are knowingly breaking the rules. If that had happened, we'd be in the championship. And here's what I know, Phil. With our team in the championship, we would have stayed.
It's a lot of money at stake between the two divisions. You know that all too well because Wycombe were there last season. Right. You've alluded to legal action over many interviews since that relegation. Is anything possible here?
Anything's possible here.
Between Wycombe and the EFL, Wycombe and Derby, how does this work?
Well, it'd be wrong of me to speculate on how it works, because that would suggest that I met with lawyers at 7:30 this morning.
And a lawyer yourself as well, so you're coming from this from a decent point of knowledge.
Well, it's a different legal system. It's a closed system in that it's among league teams against the league and all of that. The rules are intricate and have to be studied, and there are those who have sort of a cottage industry of knowing league rules. And so I wouldn't presume my sort of 40 years of experience of trying lawsuits successfully to suggest what could happen.
So Wycombe fans, when this was announced on Friday night with Derby County, with their incoming administration and then the points that would be coming, what's your message to the Wycombe fans about what Rob Couhig, their chairman's going to be doing?
He's going to be looking at all of our options. He has heard them. He is studying it, and it ain't over till it's over. What's frustrating, though, is after Middleborough, the league knew, or should have known, that Derby was in real trouble. The league knew, or should have known, that they had been violating the rules for 3 to 4 years. The league knew, or should have known, that we were being relegated unfairly at that point, because under any other circumstance, they would have suffered at least a 2-point penalty. We would have stayed up and off we go. The failure to properly conduct the affairs has cost this league this team not just £10 million for this year, but a legacy amount that's probably equivalent. The good news is we walked out of there and said, we're a championship league team. You can see we're dressing up this place as good as any team in the championship league. We are bringing in players, and we're doing it our way, which is not overspending, that can compete in the championship. So we are a championship team that, if called upon, could play there tomorrow.
the Football League, as an overseas owner, you'd have had to have done the fit and proper persons test. I mean, you had to go through quite a rigorous process to get hold of Wycombe Wanderers, and now the tables have turned you a little bit. You're saying, actually, are the EFL fit and proper to run our divisions? Is that what you're saying?
No. They are fit and proper. I think that they allowed certain things to get away from them. Look, I was thinking of the guy who was saying, we got to get another government regulator. You can't stop a guy who's going to hold up a bank by all the rules in the world, people will break the rules. What you can do, though, is that you can warn them off by showing swift action. I don't know how Derby survives this. Everybody says, well, they'll just go into administration. The way you get out of administration is you got to come up with enough money to pay debts, right? Who's going to buy a team where you can't tell them how many points are going to be deducted and when? How do they do anything? Of course, I saw they won today. I mean, it's a remarkable thing that they're hanging together. All credit to them, but it's wrong what's going on.
Fascinating words from Rob, and you can hear, as I say, more of that on Ringing the Blues on the podcast with Phil, and many thanks to him as well for that fantastic interview.
You can really hear the lawyer in Rob Couhig, can't you? You can see him sort of pictured in some American drama, so, in the courtroom, when he was sort of going over the same point again and again, trying to persuade those 12 people of the jury. Definitely. He had me straight away. Do I want to convict Derby County? Well, if I didn't before, I definitely did after listening to that.
So they're currently on -2 points, but they could face further points deductions as well.
Yes, which I can't really recall happening previously, that a team then has been deducted points and then gets deducted more points in the same season.
No, because they're under a transfer embargo and also the financial irregularities, as well as it's quite strange when you sort of pick it apart and sort of dig into it. But
it is, and then you look at the table and you slightly see how badly teams like Nottingham Forest are doing as well, and you think, well, if they don't get deducted more points, there still might be a small chance that they might manage to escape.
It just sounds a bit sort of Sheffield Wednesday all over again, doesn't it?
It does slightly, and of course, we obviously had experience of that last season, and what I mean about you don't often seem to get points deducted and then more points deducted. Of course, with Sheffield Wednesday it went the other way.
Of course.
And they had 6
they got
points
their points back.
Exactly, 6 points restored, which didn't make any difference in the end, but...
And you can't imagine that happening with Derby either.
No, not really.
But it does make you appreciate sort of the value of football clubs, really, as well, especially when you consider, Wycombe being quite close to going out of business themselves.
Yeah, completely. I mean, when Rob then says about who would take over Derby, at the same time you do think, well, I can imagine that there would still be a few interested parties. It's a nice ground, Pride Park. It's a decent team.
High profile manager.
When you look at some of the other teams that maybe have gone by the wayside in recent years, which is a terrible thing, but I can more understand why maybe a businessman wasn't interested in rescuing Bury or rescuing Macclesfield. I think some people still might have their eye on Derby and think, oh yeah, could turn this into a going concern.
Absolutely. You said that like you were.
Oh, no, definitely not interested.
I've been looking at Derby.
I've been looking at Derby and thinking,
So MK Dons next.
Yes, indeed. Our friends up the road.
A Bucks Derby.
Against our franchise foes. They're doing rather well as well, I'm afraid to say. They haven't lost since the 14th of August, when they lost 2-1 at home to Sunderland. Since then, their record has been rather good.
But only a point ahead in the table.
But exactly.
And have played a game more.
That's what I was going to say. So they've played 8 games. They've won 4. They've drawn 3. They've lost 1 so far this season, which puts them 3rd in the table with 15 points. We're currently 5th with 14 points. But as you say, we have played a game less.
And Wycombe as well, obviously only suffering 1 league defeat so far, and that was against the current league leaders.
Indeed, yes, absolutely. So again, there is still, I think there is a good chance on Saturday. I hope so, anyway.
And before we speak again as well, we'll have played Shrewsbury as well.
Indeed, yes, Shrewsbury.
You're going to that as well?
I'm going to that one as well, yes. They're really struggling as well.
Yes.
23rd currently in the division, with only 5 points. So again, you would hope that we could pick up some points there. But obviously, at the moment it is all about Saturday, and that's been the theme, really, hasn't it, for the whole of the week, or certainly leading up to the Man City game. It was very much actually, well, it's about the league this season.
Oh, definitely.
Which is fantastic. That's brilliant to hear that actually we were thinking that. And yes, okay, we did play a decent side, I felt, against Manchester City, but clearly there were a few players that you might have thought may have played that actually I think we're probably saving. Gareth McCleary definitely being on that list.
And it would need other results to go our way, of course, but we could end the day top of the table.
You never know. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
That'd be a bit of a fillet to the week.
Absolutely, yes.
Played Manchester City, ended top of the table.
And they ended top of the table. And Pep said some nice things about us as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're not really going to say nasty things, are you?
No, that's true. You don't hear that of managers, do you?
No. Oh, yeah, we played Wycombe, they weren't very good. You know, they don't say that, do they?
Join us at the same time.
They do if they were Peterborough. Yes, join us at the same time next week.